I mentioned before that we're having a special guest in the studio this morning, and he has arrived. Jonathan from Four Pillars Consulting. More importantly for our talk this morning, Jonathan Kirk from Crawford Wellness Centre. Good morning. Welcome to East FM.
Good morning, Phil. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Lovely to have you here. So I was saying to the audience just before we played some music that we've been sort of following the trail or plotting the progress, if you like, of the Wellness Centre at Crawford, because it's a new venture for them. And we've talked to skin specialists, we've talked to administrators, we've talked to all sorts, but we haven't talked to a counsellor yet. And I said to you off air, what's a young, fit-looking bloke like you, how did you get into counselling? Because it's not something that, well, to me anyway, it's not something that springs to mind as a vocation sort of straight out of school. And you said it's an interesting story.
Yeah. So, I started Four Pillars Counseling as a bit of a passion project since moving here. So just a bit about my background. My wife and I are from Oregon, from the United States.
Oh, Nike country.
Yeah, that's right. Before that, I was in Idaho, and, I did a bunch of social work there. I did my undergrad in biology and psychology, and then just tried to find some upward momentum and couldn't get it, couldn't create any earning potential. So I eventually decided, I need to do something else. I need to create my own path here, and I started law school and business school in the United States. That's when I moved to Oregon and started grad school at Willamette. So I met my wife there. She's a doctor of clinical psychology, and that's, tangentially how we got the offer to move here. So I did law school and business school. I ended up working at a finance company as a director, and then eventually chief operating officer of a finance company, about 25 people, working 70 hours a week. And, I thought I was living the dream. I thought I had made it. But I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I just couldn't feel the fulfillment I'd been wanting to after this big, long journey and all this time, effort, and energy. It's like, I'm just not happy. So this, the move and the offer to come to Auckland came at the perfect time for us, for my wife and I. And when we got here, one of the things we decided was this was going to be a reset for us to get out of that hustle culture that's so prolific in the United States.
Yes.
And so I went back to school. I'm getting my master's. This is my final year, my master's of counseling at University of Auckland. I started the practice about a year ago, and here I am, just to kind of, work with individuals who are, suffering from a variety of things: anxiety, depression, maybe grief and loss, big life transitions. I do couples counseling because it had such a profound impact in my own life.
Yes.
And I feel like it's something that I can offer the world and feel good doing it.
When you were sort of going through the struggles of being not so happy back in the States, did you use the services of a counsellor? Or I suppose you leaned on your wife a wee bit as well.
Yeah, both, definitely. During some really difficult times in law school, which is an incredibly stressful time.
I can imagine.
To be, and in the middle of COVID. So I started law school right before COVID hit, and those two things together was just, not great. So I sought the help from mental health counseling and just, a place to talk, to be open, to... I think as men in our culture, we're taught to push things down. And that might not always be a bad thing. I would argue it isn't. However, I think there is a time and a place and a space where it can be beneficial for men. And so one of the things I do is men's mental health specifically.
Oh, yes. And especially New Zealand is known as a very stoic nation.
That's right.
I mean, you've only got to look back in the day, back in the 60s, at the All Black culture. You didn't celebrate when you scored a try. You just put the ball on the ground and you walked away, or you tucked it under your arm and you threw it to the fullback and you kicked a conversion. Because back in the day, and I know we're preaching to the converted here, but the All Blacks won everything. Yeah. But there was no celebrations like there are now, and I'm sure that permeated into our culture. It was that, like you say, push it inside. Yeah. Don't let it out. Don't let it out. Yeah. And you mentioned COVID, and I'm sure COVID, rightly or wrongly, has been a real boom for counselling because it affected so many people in so many different ways.
Yeah, it absolutely has been. And just looking at the after effects of the mental health impacts of something like COVID, where you're forced into isolation, you're forced from any sorts of social interaction with your friends and even family. The mental health impact is huge on us as such socially primed creatures. It's baked into our DNA to be social. And indeed, these studies that show the long-term indicators of human flourishing, almost at the top every single time, is social interaction with other people. So you can imagine taking that away, even from relatively short period of time, is just hugely damaging, especially for the young folk.
And I guess that's why, I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but this just sprang into my head. I guess that's why solitary confinement in the old days was the perfect, punishment. Well, it was a punishment for sure. Yeah. And that for that very reason.
That's right. Yeah. Quite literally torture.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And, culture, counselling, I should say, from probably an outsider looking in, it starts off with just a chat. Would that be fair to say? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think it depends. It depends on what you're looking for. It depends on who is coming. It depends on what their goals are. Yes.
But at the bottom level, what we like to offer, at least in my counseling space, and I find is pretty popular here in New Zealand as just a general framework, is called person-centered counseling.
Okay.
And that's saying something to the effect of, look, Phil, you are the expert in your own life. You know what you want, and let's clarify some goals. I have some tools that can help you get from point A to point B.
Yes.
But you're the one who's going to get there. I'm going to support you along the way. And that does a few things. It negates that kind of implicit power dynamic that we have when we see medical professionals and mental health professionals,
yes,
where we see a doctor and they are extremely prescriptive because, they're experts. They have a high level of sophistication, so of course they are. So counseling offers kind of a different perspective than perhaps a psychiatrist or a doctor or a psychologist who will be prescriptive in what they do and just say, do this, that, and the other thing. Counseling offers a collaborative approach. So we work together on your goals, your values, your ideals, and how best I can use the tools in my tool belt to help you get there.
Is it sort of looking like, as you being the counsellor, you're looking from the outside looking in, as opposed to say if it was a couples counselling or something like that, you're not involved in the fight. You're observing from the outside, thinking, I can help this. Why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? Is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
Yeah. So I like that you brought up couples counselling because that's one of my areas of expertise.
Yes.
It's called the Gottman method of couples counseling. It started in Seattle, Washington with John and Julie Gottman. They've done decades and decades of research, so it's a highly evidence-based framework of couples counseling. And it's all about having healthier conflicts, turning inward toward each other, avoiding 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse, that's contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And then just learning to kind of fall back in love with one another. So it's not about blame, it's not about who's right, it's about understanding. It's shifting the framework from people are the problem to patterns are the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a key distinction I find working with couples, that once that kind of, we're able to separate those two things, a lot of things just fall into place.
And is it personally satisfying for you as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Full disclosure, my wife and I we participate in Gottman therapy and Gottman counseling.
Yep.
And not in when we were in crisis, but to just undergird our relationship to begin with, to develop those practical tools and skills to deal with conflict in a healthy way. Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of specialize in this couples counseling space in the Gottman method.
Okay. Now, you told me off air that you're a personal trainer as well, folks. I know this is radio, but this guy's got some guns on him. You should see his arms.
Thanks, Phil.
And as a failed athlete, I appreciate that stuff. That's why I mentioned the Nike reference in Oregon, because I knew that's where Phil Knight was from, and I run in them. But anyway, that's another story. What I was going to say is counselling for everybody?
That's a good question. And there's a few schools of thought there. There are some, and I think it's kind of a newer idea that would say, yes, everyone should go to therapy. Everyone should absolutely go to see counseling. I would push on that idea a little bit. I don't know that every single person out there needs therapy in the big capital T sense of the word.
Yeah.
I would be a slightly more conservative approach to it, in saying that, look, counseling can provide you tools like understanding how to leverage cognitive behavioral therapy, which in clinical trials is as or more effective than antidepressant medication. And just think about that for a second. Isn't that amazing? You can leverage tools just in your mind that has the same effect as an antidepressant with no side effects and only upsides. So from that perspective, you can see just off the cuff how wonderfully beneficial counseling can be. But I would also say that I think we over-pathologize nowadays, and we over-therapize in many ways.
Okay.
And even my thesis in my master's program is about the rise of therapy speak in public discourse and social media, and how that's doing a lot of damage to the public understanding and trust in the concept creep of these words, or expanding outward to places they weren't supposed to be. So I'd say counseling can help a variety of people in many different ways. You can be proactive and learn about how to better handle difficult situations, or if you find yourself in a difficult situation, suffering from something like stress and burnout, grief and loss, anxiety or depression, a big life transition, or having relationship issues, then it absolutely is something someone could benefit from.
I would imagine it's a two-way street. If you decided to go to a counsellor, you can't be closed up. You've got to open up. Else, I'm picking. There's not a lot of point.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Well, no, probably not a lot of points. Not the right word, because as you said, you can advance ideas that that me, say, is coming to you, had never thought of before.
Yeah. It's a skill. It's a skill, Phil. It's a skill, Phil.
No, we'll go with that.
Yeah, because it is, and especially the case with men, and that's why my heart goes out to men's mental health, because I was there. I was one of those, with a stoic father, disciplinarian.
Yes.
Don't show your feelings, keep it all in, and that was fine for a while. But once I learned to be a little bit more in touch with what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling this way. I don't, cry all the time now, but I understand, and I'm more in touch with myself as a person. And I think that is just kind of a core essential part of human flourishing. So I think I think let's leave it at that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know through personal experience. I lost both my parents. My mum died like 3 years ago. My dad was about 2 years before her, and it changed me.
Yeah.
It changed me significantly. And I never thought it would. Hand on heart, I never went to counselling. I was offered grief counselling. I turned it down. Probably the stoic New Zealander, tough as teak me, don't need anything like that. But maybe, had I gone to counselling, I might have... I don't know that I would have handled it differently, but there might be a different perspective. And you mentioned mental health, and mental health is so important these days. I mean, our suicide rate is abysmal, absolutely abysmal. Yeah. In what is meant to be the happiest country in the world, we're clearly not very happy. So is that the first step? Is counselling the first step to that? To preventing?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big question.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's us. I think a lot of what we do nowadays with antidepressant medication and things like that, they're extremely wonderful, miraculous tools of modern medicine that we have. But at the bottom level, they're Band-Aids. They treat symptoms. What counseling allows you to do is treat the root causes of these things. So ideally, before someone gets to a place where they're having thoughts of suicidal ideation, they would I'd be able to identify, something's not feeling right.
Sure.
I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling low in mood. I'm feeling morose. I'm feeling like everything is gray and I don't get as much pleasure from things anymore. At that point, it would be my hope that people would realize that, okay, I'm clocking something's wrong. What do I do with it?
Yes.
That might be the way to think about, okay, counseling, that might be something to explore. I might be able to get something from this. But absolutely, some people who is already there, who already is, extremely depressed. And I have a lot of those cases in my caseload right now with people who are unfortunately feeling that, they are having those thoughts from time to time. And it's deeply sad and tragic, but we have tools to help. And so I think just, if nothing else, counseling can be a space for you to take the first steps to, try something different, try something you haven't tried before. And worst case scenario, you get nothing. But best case scenario, you get a set of tools you can use for the rest of your life.
Yes, and that's the thing, isn't it? You get the takeaway is probably as good, if not better, than the face-to-face stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, I did some literature checking last night and the night before. You also counsel online. I would imagine that would be quite different because you can't look at facial expressions and empathise. Would that be a fair statement?
It's different. So yeah, it is difficult to do online as opposed to in person, because you're right. There is some that is just kind of lost. We aren't able to read body language as easily. We aren't able to clock, voice changes. There's the technology issues. But a lot of people relate more naturally these days to the online system, especially young people.
Yes.
And so
because they've grown up with it.
Exactly. Yeah. For some, the online is not only just sometimes the only option they have, sometimes it's the option they prefer, because they've grown up with it, because they've been raised on it, because they interact with the people in their family and their lives through online platforms. So, they're all video connections. So we still see each other's face. We still see each other, hear each other's voice. And so we're able to do fundamentally the same thing as long as the environment is nice and controlled, where you have a nice, safe kind of quiet space to interact from. But just between you and me and everyone on the radio, I prefer in-person counseling. I like to be in person.
I'm sure it works. I'm sure. Well, I don't know the statistics, but I would imagine it would work better than like the face-to-face thing. Is you can sort of look into the eyes. Yeah. But they're both good options. I would say that a lot of the people I work with who are online, they just don't have the option or the resources or the time
to go, and they might live kind of somewhere in the outskirts, and so this is a much better option than doing nothing.
And I mentioned time, and we always hear, don't we, that we live in a very busy society, and it's only getting busier. And I guess that's one of the problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it finding the time to maybe care for yourself more than anything else?
I think that's it. I think you're hitting the nail on the head here. I think we have allowed ourselves to get so caught up in everything else around us that we can sometimes look to ourselves last. Sometimes we just we're taking care of our friends, our family, our children, our parents. And it's difficult to turn inward. It's difficult to look at ourselves and say, I need help. I think that it's something that we need to be better about, creating a permission structure that says, okay, I'm going to do something for myself today. I'm going to do something for my own mental health, whether that's taking a mental health day or doing something like counseling. The first step is taking a little time for you, being consistent with it, and holding yourself accountable to it.
I always thought when I was running, if you went on a long run on a Sunday or something like that, it was really good thinking time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
because it's just you in the elements, or it's you and a couple of mates, and it's good talking time.
It is.
And we talked about it before about having stoic parents and stubborn. My dad was the most stubborn old bucket you've ever met. But when we were running on a Sunday, he opened up to all his mates.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow,
Yeah.
this is incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this my father? This isn't the father I've grown up with, surely. So, again, and I'm a little bit biased because I think sport's everything. I work in it, and I just love it. It's a release, and it's a help.
Yeah.
So, especially with our rugby sort of centric culture that we've got here, although I see the other day that soccer's making huge inroads, which is great.
Yeah.
A club situation like that, a team situation like that, is the groundlings, if you like, of a sort of counselling session, isn't it? Because you confide in your friends, you confide in your mates. What do you think? Well, yeah, that's a really good idea.
That's right.
Well, no, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and you're hitting on something that's really important, and that's the third space.
Yep.
The space that's outside of school, that's outside of home. It's a space where we can get with friends and family, friends in a neutral environment where we can talk to people and they can talk back and we can listen. And sports is a great outlet for that, especially team sports. But I mean, even just your own personal fitness, it's a huge. I mean, it's a great way, preventative,
I agree.
mental and physical health care. I mean, that's why I like to stay in shape, is because, it's one of the best things you can do for yourself, mentally, physically, bodily. And part of what I do in the counseling room is I like to take a holistic model. I like to talk about health and wellness. I like to talk about how people are feeling physically, how their sleep is going. So when we're in this space, it's not just about how are you feeling? Or are you sad? No, we're talking about, okay, what are we doing in the morning? What's your habits like? What's your schedule like? Okay, are we getting some exercise in? And then we look at some social factors, and we look at emotional and mental factors, and then even some spiritual factors if someone would like to explore that option. But yeah, absolutely. That third space of having a sports team, or a church, or just some place that you can go to socialize with people is just, it's been shown to be extremely beneficial for mental health as well.
Yeah, and it's not about venting, it's just about talking, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we don't talk enough.
Right, yeah. We're social creatures. We need it.
We
Absolutely.
do. I mean, I don't, but because every time, I mean, I've said this on the show before, my school reports, Phil talks too much, Phil talks too much, Phil talks too much. But hey, look at me now.
Made a living out of it.
Exactly right. Let's get back to the core subject, and that is the Crawford Wellness Centre. How do we get in touch with Jonathan Kirk through the Wellness Centre?
Yeah, so you can find me at 4pillarscounseling.co.nz. You can email me at 4pillarscounseling@gmail.com, or you can go to the Crawford medical website, find me on there. You can give me a call at 09-802-5636. But, just searching 4 Pillars Counseling should show up on Google results. And yeah, just on the Crawford kind of thread, I think they're doing something really incredible over there.
Me too.
Yeah, right? And that's creating a space where we can get our medical needs met and our wellness needs met. I mean, at Crawford Wellness now we have yours truly, a counselor. We have a psychologist. We have a fitness trainer. A physio's coming soon. We have a naturopath and acupuncturist. So we have so much benefit, value in this very small space that talks to each other, and it's right next door. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all your wellness needs.
Yeah, it's a tradition that Bruce Greenfield, the founder of Crawford's, has had for a very long time. I remember when the green prescription came out, he was one of the first adapters of that. Oh. And I think they still sort of promote that as well. But obviously now the Wellness Centre is the next step, the next evolution, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, and I find myself just extremely grateful to be at the right place at the right time, and just to have made the choice of starting to work out of there. That's always what I envisioned, is to have this kind of center where it was not just about one thing. You could do all those, just all the things I mentioned in one spot, rather than just having because if you think of it as the traditional kind of business models, we're talking about 10 different buildings with 10 different
10 different locations.
10 different locations, and it's all right there. Yeah.
No, it's an amazing idea, and well done to Bruce. And I know that they've just opened a new surgery down in Vincent Street. We're going to talk about that next week on the show.
Nice.
But Jonathan, thanks very much for coming in. I've really, really appreciated the chat. I think I've learned a lot. People listening will have learned a lot. And look, I wish you all continued success, certainly with the Wellness Centre and certainly with 4 Pillars. Thanks very much for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Phil.
Awesome. It's Jonathan Kirk, folks, from 4 Pillars Counselling, part of the Crawford Wellness Group or Wellness Centre up there at the top of Picton Street.